We'll call the meeting to order at 6:31. The first item on the agenda, or second item on the agenda, I guess, is to approve the minutes from the regular meeting on January 22nd.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Third item is the discussion of traffic concerns regarding a bridge in Spring Street.
Oh, yeah.
We had a couple of residents have come in over time concerning the speed on Spring Street in particular, but there's a section of Bridge Street as well. The intersection at Bridge and Spring is, not Bridge, Union and Spring, sorry.
Union Street, yeah.
Union and Spring is what is been expressed most recently. The resident came in and was asking to put stop signs going three ways at that intersection, as opposed to just right now. There's a stop sign coming south out of Chester. He's asked that we put a stop sign coming up Spring to the intersection and also going north on Union through the intersection in an effort to try to slow people down on the way through the intersection.
Yeah, Union Street is notorious too for speeders,
Yep.
as well as now Main Street. So,
What I want to do is we'll talk about putting the stop signs up there, and I think we can talk about that some more as time goes on. But I want to have the police put the stop sign or the speed limit sign that records speeds, so we can get a good indication of what the average speed going up there is and how, what time of day and all that kind of thing. Before we do that, stop signs. I've been doing an awful lot of reading about traffic calming, and stop signs are really not one of the recommended ways to slow people down.
From what I've observed, they are ignored.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what it is. They often become just an enforcement issue and can lead to accidents, actually, when people are not. They get used to ignoring them. So before we go ahead and do that, I want to spend a couple of weeks studying what the speed is up there and talk about that. So we'll talk about that again, but I want it in your heads that we're looking at possibly putting two more stop signs up in there.
That would help a lot. I'm really worried about the kids that live on those streets. And something bad's going to happen if we don't do something.
Well, Bridge Street is the other concern up and around that corner. I guess there's quite a bit going on there. So we're going to start with some signage up there, and that we're going to put up pretty quickly just to slow down it. We actually have had the police up there quite a bit, and they're not finding a whole lot of speeding going on, but they can't be there 24 hours. So,
That's the thing, yeah.
and we have had the sign up there, and again, we're not finding an awful lot of people that are speeding. But we'll look into that. I will put some signs up there. In the next couple of weeks, you should see some new signs up there. They may be temporary, just to try to slow people down. So we'll table that. If it's okay with you guys, we'll talk
Do we
about it.
want to let them pull some chairs from the table if they need
If anybody wants to sit, they're welcome to.
If you need a chair, please, pull one from the table. If you want to stand and supper, go ahead.
The next item on the agenda is discussion of minimum budget requirements. This one we're going to carry through to the Board of Finance meeting later on. But I'm sure you're both familiar, and everyone is probably familiar with the reduction of the elementary school budget from this fiscal year, was beyond what the state minimum budget requirements allow, and they have alerted us that we had to put $68,000 back into that budget, or we would be fined $140,000 next year. We applied for a waiver. We went through that process. I had the conversation. We received a letter back from them, from the state, denying that request for a waiver. Basically, the reason was we have never granted a waiver before. We don't want to grant a waiver on this one.
Because we do have fiscal responsibility, we're paying.
We believe very strongly that we satisfy all the requirements for a waiver. That said, I don't believe that we will be successful in pursuing that any further. I'm happy to, if you and the Board of Finance decide that this is something that needs to be, continue the argument. My concern is that we may jeopardize future ECS funding, because that is what this is.
It's the
that's what that
ramifications
comes
that
from.
we'll pay
Yeah.
possibly later on.
Yeah.
That would be a lot more
Yeah,
detrimental
and
than the
for-
68,000.
That's right. For Deep River, as much as I don't like the fact that we depend that much on the state, we get $1.5 million from them for our ECS funding, and to jeopardize that is a pretty big hit to our budget. So that's where that is. So I'm going to recommend that we recommend the Board of Selectmen, the Selectmen's recommendations to the Board of Finance is that we end that argument, and that we put that $68,000 into the Deep River Elementary School budget, where they've already got projects that we need. We need to spend that money anyway on repairs, or not repairs, but enhancements to security at the elementary school. And we have work on the heating system that needs to be spent. So we're going to be spending the money anyway. We can put it back into that budget.
I don't think we have a choice.
We do, but I want to make sure we're all on the same page as how we go forward, so.
I'm good with it.
Yeah, me
Okay,
too.
all right.
You know,
then
see what
that's-
the Board of Finance says, but I'm concerned about the possible ramifications.
Yeah, yeah, well, me too. That's my biggest concern.
68.
I'll fight until the cows come home. And I spent the morning up in Rocky Hill talking with other regional school districts. And I think we'll be more successful in arguing against the teacher's pension being pushed back onto the towns.
I hope so.
Right now, the recommendation from the governor's budget is that the towns will take over, in 3 years, we'll have 25% of the teacher's pension. And in Deep River, that adds up to like 75,000 or something like that. But I think once that door is open, I would bet quite a bit of money that the 25% in 3 years will be higher than that. It won't be 25%. Once they open that door. So I would much rather spend time. I'll be up in Hartford on Friday, hopefully testifying that it's bad for the towns. It's bad policy. This is a state issue, and really to push this kind of thing onto property taxes is just a mistake. So, if I could get a motion from you to recommend that the Board of Selectmen will recommend to the Board of Finance later on tonight that we end the request for a waiver for the MBR and reimburse that money.
I'd like to make a recommendation to end the MBR fight, challenge, whatever you want to call it, and move it to the Board of Finance tonight.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We have not an application, but Sarah Cayley is a member of a Parks and Recreation Commission.
I'll do the Charger. Skip over to
Pardon me?
Charger.
Oh, Dodge Charger, sorry about that. I mislabeled that.
Sorry.
No, thank you. The next item is the authorization to auction off our 2011 Dodge Charger. We just got a new cruiser for another Dodge that Ray is now driving. We have the 2011 that we don't need. I'd like to get authorization to put that out to auction. I'm not sure whether we'll just put it in the paper like we have done in the past, or try to find an auction center that can maybe get us some more money for it. But if you guys will
Good idea.
authorize me to go ahead and do that, I will take care of it.
A motion? Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to put the 2011 Dodge Charger, excuse me, up for auction.
Second.
All right, why don't you, authorize me to.
Authorizing the selectmen to put the 2011 Dodge Charger up for auction.
All right, great, thanks. You seconded that. All in
Did.
favor?
Aye.
The next item is to reappoint Sarah Catley to Parks and Recreation Commission. Sarah has been on the commission for an extended period of time. She did not respond when we sent out notices to everyone when it was time to reappoint this winter. I'm not sure if she didn't get the message or what, but she didn't. But she does want to continue on the commission and has asked to be reappointed, so.
Sarah's good.
Okay, make a motion to reappoint Sarah to Parks and Rec.
Second.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
3-0. The next item is CCM, the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities, has a discount prescription drug card program. It saves a little bit of money if you have, if you have insurance, you can still save a little bit. What this is really is, I'm going to just want it to, as information as much as anything, to let everyone in town know that we're going to do. So I'm going to start advertising it a little bit. I wanna
Oh, it's
put
open for the public?
It's for the public. Yeah, it's not just the employees. It's open for the public for prescription drug savings. It's mostly generic stuff and things like that. I don't know all of the details, but I know that when Deep River residents do use it, they save. And I just want to try to get as much of that information out to the public as we can, so that the public can take advantage of the
It
situation.
would be especially helpful to the elderly.
Is there a specific pharmacy that they have to use, or is it open to anything?
Yeah, I think there are smaller pharmacies probably don't participate, but I know Walgreens, whatever that other big one is that's down.
CVS.
Stop and Shop, those
Okay.
guys do.
Excellent.
That's good.
Yeah, it's a good program, it's good savings for people. And so you'll see you'll see some posters around, you'll see some, in the newsletter, there'll be a good article about that and stuff like that, so.
Is there, one more question,
Yep.
is there a timeline to sign up for that, or is there just
No,
open?
No, you just have to know that it's there and sign up, and go through the process of signing up. It's pretty simple, pretty painless. Okay, next item, I think, is what half of the crowd here tonight is for. To discuss and possible action on the appointment of Jim Olson to the Planning and Zoning Commission alternate position with a term to expire of 12/1/2020. As you guys are both aware, we have 2 vacancies on the alternate positions on the Planning and Zoning Commission. We've had a few, I think 4, possibly 5. We have a new applicant that just came in. I'm trying to meet with her. I think you already have met with her.
Yep.
But Jim is one of those applicants. I believe that Jim, through his history here in town, has proven himself to be dedicated to the community as a whole and the future of the community. And I'm going to recommend to the Board of Selectmen that we appoint him and we move that to town meeting in order to fill one of the 2 vacancies. We'll continue to speak with the people, and I'll give you information to contact the other applicants if you have an interest in speaking with them. But I feel strongly enough that Jim will be a good member of the board, has proven himself as a member of the Board of Education and other boards in town, and has served the town well. I feel strongly enough that I want to move that forward. I'll open it up to you guys for conversation. I know there are people here that probably want to speak to it too, so.
Is this a political spot? Does it have to be a D or
There,
a R? or-
yes, we do have to have 1 Republican and 1 Democrat on these two positions. Jim would satisfy the Republican.
I'd like to hear what our good friends here in the room have to say. Please.
I have a quick question. So I know that the zoning ordinance, or the town ordinance and the Connecticut General Statutes allows you to expand the board, and you just said that there's a lot of people interested in getting on planning and zoning?
We have, I believe, including Jim, we have 5 people now who in the last few months have expressed interest.
Yeah, so I mean, if he's interested and he does get on the board like you guys are asking, I know Chris is an alternate,
Yeah.
he'd be an alternate. Those 2 could move up to full-time positions, and there would be 2 more available spots. Just throwing that out there.
That's a good idea. I hadn't checked out statute that allows for that. I didn't notice that in the ordinance over the last few
Yeah, I
times.
just, the
read it.
other day was looking it up, but
Yeah.
I thought, if there's a lot of interest, a lot of people have asked around town too,
Yeah.
so. Just
Okay,
throwing
thanks.
that out there.
Thank
We'll look into it, thank you.
Appreciate it. Can you review for us who else has indicated an interest at this point?
Chris, I don't know her last name yet. Christy
Christy Stroud, I think.
Stroud, yeah. Roger Williams has expressed an interest, an architect and relatively new resident to town. Alan, I'm blanking on his last name now, but he's a member of the Design Advisory Board. Would like to move over. Alan Parity has expressed an interest. Jim Olson.
Nick Kornacki.
Pardon me?
Nick Kornacki.
Okay, I don't remember seeing that one, but
Yeah,
that's
approached twice.
Nick Kornacki has?
Yep.
Okay, I don't remember seeing that.
Seeing if you had more people on the P and Z, you wouldn't have so much trouble getting a quorum.
I don't remember that we have canceled any meetings for not getting a quorum,
But
but,
you've mentioned in the past that you had trouble getting a
yep.
quorum, so.
Well, that's a good, we will look into that expansion. But those are the people that I'm aware of that have expressed an interest. Actually, Chris DeRocher's wife also made an application, or an interest when they both moved into town. Chris is now an alternate on the board. His wife expressed an interest. They both wanted to. I think we have a situation on the board that I'm not particularly fond of already with having a husband and wife on the commission at the same time. And I expressed to both of them at the same time, at the time that they did, that I wasn't particularly in favor of that. So, if anyone else, any comments or questions?
I just think if you have that many people that are interested, take advantage of it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Strike while the iron's hot, these are brilliant, bright people, especially Roger and other ones. Why not expand it? Why not get them to take their volunteer time and help out?
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Foolish not to, really. I
Okay,
highly recommend you do.
appreciate it.
I think what we might have heard at the Jonathan Kasner town meeting was that a more transparent process perhaps would be helpful
How would we make it more transparent?
to bring all of the candidates to the Board of Selectmen to make a decision, perhaps?
I've given and am giving the applicants information to the Board of Selectmen so they can reach out to them and speak with them individually if they prefer
Right,
to.
but you're making.
It is not a process that, I don't believe that an interview process, a public interview process is at all appropriate for something like this.
Not suggesting that, I'm suggesting that all of the Board of Selectmen have an opportunity to interview and talk to
Yeah.
all the candidates, and then you as a group make a decision rather
That
than.
is
the first-
exactly what we're doing. It is exactly what we have done in the past.
Well,
That's-
from what I understand, that you're bringing someone forward, that you're recommending someone, you're bringing someone forward.
Bill, do you know Jim?
No, I do not.
You do not know Jim Olson?
No, I know the
Then
name,
you
but I
should,
don't know him
then
personally.
we can have a meeting, but you certainly can have a meeting for him.
Doesn't everybody have all the applications of the candidates?
Because it's not required. It is something that we are doing. It is not required. It is not as anything that's happened in the past.
That's what he's saying.
Okay, and I understand.
Everybody should have all of the applications. That's what
Okay.
he's suggesting, just so you understand it.
Has he, I have a
Thank
question, has he been a member before of this
Oh, the
board?
planning and zoning, no, he has not.
Is he currently
Well,
a
not that I'm
member
aware.
of the Board of Ed or
No,
anything?
no, he is not.
He has been, hasn't
He has been for quite a considerable amount of time.
So why are these, these people have come out and keep coming around, and these newer people who we've never heard of aren't getting the chance to if they're showing an interest, why aren't they being allowed? They're not even being recommended. It's like you couldn't even remember their names, some of them. So I'm just kind of wondering why that is. People who are in this town are, I know Jim Olson, he's a nice enough guy.
Yeah.
He's been around.
Well,
New people need to come out too, is what I'm saying.
new people
That's what
definitely
I'm
need to come
saying.
out. That's why we have,
And they need
you know,
to be considered,
Ben
not
was
just,
put, Ben was
not
put
just
on
the
this
names-
commission as a
The
new.
names aren't being remembered. They're not even considered, it seems.
Well, if I had considered that we were going to have this particular conversation tonight, I would have made sure that I had everyone's paperwork here. You know,
I know
each
Roger.
individual-
I met Roger. He seems like a really nice guy.
Roger has been in my house, I've been in his
I
house.
did a
Yeah.
fence for him, and he seems like a really nice guy. He seems like he knows what he's doing. and
He is a very nice
He
guy.
knows a lot, he seems knowledgeable and all that.
Yep.
So, you know, just like these people are just not even getting considered, in my opinion, so.
And I just want to make the point, it's not about the people, it's about the process. So even with Jonathan, it's not about Jonathan, it's not about this gentleman.
That's
It's about
true.
the process that is used to decide who's on planning and zoning.
Okay.
And that it needs to be a transparent and a complete and thorough process.
Okay. Thank you.
I applaud any resident that wants to be involved with any board in this community. You know what, if we don't have volunteers, this community doesn't operate.
Right.
You know, from the fire department, the planning and zoning, the Board of Education. I started on the Board of Education 18 years ago. Jimmy Olson, I served with him on the Board of Education. I don't know some of these other ladies and gentlemen. I would like to meet them. Again, as this gentleman said over there, we have to bring some of the new people into our community, and if they want to step up and get involved, I'm all for it. We happen to have an opening right now for the Deep River Board of Education that we need to fill. It's not a glorious position, but it's an important position for us taxpayers. So if anyone knows anyone that wants to be on the Board of Education, we need to fill that spot like yesterday. But I'm looking forward to meet any of these candidates or
Yeah.
people that want to volunteer for our community.
Mhm.
I'm all for it. But I will put a plug in for Jimmy. Like I said, I served with him on the Board of Education. I know he's been involved in the fire department for years. I would like to move him forward, and then the other, this gentleman said over here, to expand the group. Then I think we should expand it and give these other people an opportunity also. Again, that's my 2 cents.
Well, we'll look into the expansion of it. I don't know the statute, I don't know the law on that. I'm not sure if it's governed by simply as many people as you can get, fill the roles, and just keep expanding it and shrinking it as much as you want to. Can go to,
Go up by 2.
can go to 9?
Yeah.
As alternates or full-time people?
So the alternates now that we have would become full-time members, and you'd have 2 more alternates.
Okay.
So I got a recollection, because you were talking about how outstanding Jim Olson is and all that stuff, and you know, all that. That last meeting we had regarding the Kastner vote when we were up in the arena upstairs, and Jim Olson was the one who, he said, come out and throw your hat into the ring and get involved, and he was the one who even said that. And, you know, so, and here you are, and, you know, unfortunately, Angus, I can't help but say that you're not remembering these people's names. She had to help you with a couple of them. It's like, that's sad, I'm sorry. It's not, I don't wanna get on you, but it's like, come on.
I'm sorry that I'm making you sad.
It is, I'm sorry that I'm sad too. It's not a good thing, doesn't look
No.
good, doesn't look.
No?
And this is the second time we're hearing about a lack of volunteerism, and yet we have all these applications, and you're not addressing any of them here.
Sign doesn't help either.
And complaining doesn't help when you don't have any of the applications here.
Okay, thank you.
You're only looking at one guy. What's wrong with this picture? And now we have to have another town meeting to vote on one guy?
And I'd also like to bring up the fact that the last time with the Kastner vote was the total debacle upstairs. The raising of the hands was not a good way to vote that thing. There was a lot of things that went wrong that night.
Okay.
If you selectmen are out here and you're supposed to be representing everybody in the whole town and you're voting on an issue, it's not a good, it doesn't look good for you to do that.
Why is that, sir?
Because.
I'm a taxpayer also, and
I
I'm part of
understand
the
that, but you're
community.
representing, you're supposed to be the selectman, you're supposed to be representing everybody. You're supposed to step out of the picture when it's a quorum, like, I don't know the correct words, but you know.
So should we not vote on
Yes,
the
you
Region
should
4
not- you should
referendum?
not have voted. It should have been, it was an ethical thing, you should not, you
But
should
should-
have stepped out of the vote.
Can you answer my question? Should we not vote on a referendum for the Region 4 Board of Education?
In my
Which
opinion, you
that-
shouldn't
that
have- In my opinion, I'm not asking about anything else, I'm saying,
Oh.
in my opinion, you should not have voted that night. It looked bad. Because when you raised your hand up like that, voting for something, you were giving everybody else, it didn't look good for everybody else. It wasn't a representation that you guys are supposed to be representing.
Well, then maybe it should have been a paper ballot versus.
Maybe it should have
canvass.
been a paper ballot, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, should have been a paper ballot, because,
I agree with that.
yeah,
Keep
because
that-
that was, that shows there was a lot of,
For or against something, they think it's.
everybody saw who was against and who was for. There was a lot of emotion that night, because it's like, I know, I particularly saw a friend of mine he was for it, and I was like, and then I see the policeman and he was for it. Is he gonna pull me over? He saw I was against it. Is he gonna pull me over? It's just, it wasn't a good way to run it. It was not a professional way to run that at all. And not only that, but the whole issue of the Kastner's title is still in question. He has a title, he's called Select Man's Assistant. He is not assistant to the town hall that you stated that night, Agus.
Okay.
His title, and I looked at LinkedIn, on his LinkedIn page on the computer, Select Man's, possessive S, not all the Select Man's, Select Man's, you, assistant. That doesn't look good.
Thank you, I will look into that, that's for sure. I don't know anything about his LinkedIn thing.
I have a question also. You say that everyone should give their application to you in writing. I would like to see Jonathan Kastner's application in writing.
Jonathan Kastner's been on that board for 30 years.
I still.
He did
would
not
like to see-
apply to be on that board. He
I
was
still
on that
would
board.
like to see.
Well, then
his
you're gonna have to
application
come in
writing.
here and find an application from 30 years ago, because that's when he got on that board.
And he.
That was
has
not, as was explained
He
that
has
night,
not
that was
applied.
explained that night,
He
that
has
that is
not-
not, that was not an application process, that was a moving up as is directed by statute, as is directed by ordinance. He was on the commission already. The next time there's a vacancy on the regular board, Chris DeRochers will move up, because that is how it's been done in Deep River since time immemorial, so. Is there any other discussion on this
I
particular
just think
thing?
that, seeing how everybody's here and you're in agreement with us, that you should make an motion and you will go forward with this. And if it is true that you can expand it with 2 more people, do so. Because you could look into it and maybe you don't have time this next year before it's open to again. I'm just saying, it's a townwide, people may not realize it under the ice, but there's a lot of anger out there about that, so. it's-
I certainly know there's a lot of anger in here right now,
So, I just think that would go a long way towards writing whatever wrong people perceive to be. Just make a motion.
I'm not gonna make a motion tonight that we do that. I wanna research it. I wanna, I wanna look at the statute. I wanna look at the rules. I wanna talk to the town attorney, and I wanna talk to the planning and zoning commission.
No,
And
but
see,
then we'll do so, that it will be done. Not,
I just told you it will be done.
well, looked into, I'm not trying to be argumentative, but when you say looked into, oh yeah, we were gonna look into that. No, I don't think we were gonna. So I'm just saying, this should be put on the docket, and should move forward, and should be put forward on the front.
It's great advice, count on it being done, period.
I'm just, it won't go away, it'll just be like whack-a-mole, it'll keep coming back up and up, people get madder and madder, and it's just, that would be a nice thing.
Okay, thanks, Tom. So that's where we are. I'm recommending that we move Jim forward. It's up to you guys if you want to make the motion, if you don't want to make a motion, if you don't want to do it, that's okay with me.
I have a suggestion to the two of you. Given the feedback we've gotten this evening, I'm wondering if it would be prudent, I think it might be, give me a little time to talk to Jim Olson. I have no doubt he's a good guy, but it's also good for me just to briefly
Yeah,
at least
absolutely.
talk with him. At the same time, schedule a little bit of time, at least telephonically, with these other candidates, and then move
Yeah,
forward
fine.
from there, if that's amenable to you guys,
I'm fine.
Fine with me.
without making a decision.
Will it also give Angus time to look into if we
Yeah,
can
I can do the
expand-
research on the expansion of the
expand the
board.
board?
Yeah, yeah.
I think,
It if I may, let me please make a motion then that we will obtain and have conversations, brief conversations with all of the candidates, preferably face-to-face, but at least telephonically. I'm sure Jim Olson's a good guy. I'd like to meet the guy, at least telephonically. And then at the same time, it gives Angus time to do the due diligence that he wants to do to help us all out. That's my motion, that we take time to meet these other candidates and then go from there. And if we need a special meeting, Angus, we could do that sometime in the next, whenever.
Yeah, no, it's
Whatever
fine
you
with me.
think.
It's, however we go forward, it's fine.
Second.
Okay.
All those in favor? To
Aye.
table? Thank you. Next item on the docket is invite Scott Bowden and any of the other firemen that are here to talk about the 9 new members that we have and turnout gear that needs to be purchased during, as soon as we can to get them outfitted.
Scott Bowden, Commissioner.
Come on up, Scott.
Fire Commissioners.
We don't fight too often. Except me, I
So I
fight a lot.
I have some documents here to show the Board of Selectmen pertaining to the immediate need for 9 sets of personal safety gear for 9, and I'm proud to say and happy to say 9 new volunteers at the fire department.
9 brand new.
9 volunteers, 6 of which are qualified to go to work right away upon a short probationary period in the issuance of this gear. So that's a list, a breakdown list of what a firefighter needs for personal protection gear.
I got
Now-
nothing but the highest praise for you guys. Jeez.
Tim Lee, Jim Budney,
Just for,
with me tonight.
just for edification, if nothing else, I wanted to talk something that you and I spoke about briefly today. This is new equipment for a new turnout gear for the newer members, and it has a lifespan of a certain amount of time. I don't know what that is.
10 years for interior firefighting.
For interior firefighting. As some of the members are aging and are not participating in some of the interior stuff, you're handing this stuff down, so you're getting more than that 10 years out of this equipment. Yeah.
It gets recycled.
Yeah.
The older gear goes to non-interior firefighters, goes to junior members, fire police, truck drivers, stuff like that.
Okay. That's
Depending on sizes, that's another thing, because, you know, we're constantly, you know, fitting people and making
Yeah,
sure
yeah.
stuff fits correctly and all that.
You know, I fully endorse this, and we'll talk about it a little bit more. I'm not sure where the money's gonna come from. It's a good chunk of change. So we'll have to talk with the Board of Finance about how we're gonna find that money. But $35,000 is a good amount of money, but 9 new members is pretty dramatic change, especially when you drive through towns and fire departments and you see the signs out all the time, volunteer, volunteer,
We're
volunteer.
still looking to go along with your earlier conversation, people that want to volunteer
Yeah.
for boards and stuff, and we're always looking for help. To get 9 new members is huge.
Yeah.
It's,
That's a great thing to bring up too.
for me as the fire chief, I have to say, having 9 new members it's a morale booster. It's a morale booster within the department. It's a morale booster for the officers to know that you got 9 new people that want to volunteer. 5 to 6 of them that are already pre-qualified to the basic level of Fire One. Multiple ones of them hold higher certifications than that. One of them's a career firefighter in a city in the state. So I mean, all of them have something to bring to the table, and we've been lucky to get 1, maybe 2 new people a year. But with that, you lose 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And that's the way it's been historically.
Yeah.
To get 9 new ones in the last 6 months is huge.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
I don't know if there's an idea or not, but about 3 or 4 years ago, I drove through Saybrook, and all the firemen were out there and had their fire boots, and they were in a uniform, and they were slowing, going in cars, and they were stopping, and people were putting money, I mean, I never saw anybody could get money to that. So I don't know, it's an idea or whatever, but it was quite impressive. And
We do other things. I mean, we have our, the car show is a big fundraiser for us now in the fall. We've been doing it for the last 3 or 4 years. We have,
The breakfast.
the breakfast, we've been doing a quarterly free community breakfast. We put a boot out for it. People have been dropping donations in that, so.
They were out, or just as you come over the
Yep.
overpass, walking right down the middle of traffic, and I mean, oh my God, everybody was throwing money in these booths.
You know, you were speaking about volunteers and the 9 new volunteers, but you're still looking. One of the things that's going to go into the next newsletter is a notice that volunteering for the fire department isn't necessarily volunteering for fighting fires. There are other needs that need to be addressed. We need, I think you could speak to it better than I can, but we need someone who would be able to come in and volunteer a few hours a week, maybe at most, to do bookkeeping for the fire department, to keep up with some of the new requirements from FEMA or from OSHA regarding documentation of things. So if someone had the time and the ability to do that, that would be a great volunteer. Someone to come in and pay attention to grants would be a great volunteer for the department. You know, we just put a lot of effort into, and we still are in the running for that truck grant. But it was a tremendous amount of time.
Yeah.
You know, and
It is.
if we had someone that just could pay attention to it, give us a heads up when it's coming, keep a good list of what your needs are, because I'm confident that had we known about this when we did that truck grant, we could have written this right into another grant, and we probably could have had it funded. But we don't have time for that now. The grant doesn't come up until later on.
And it's important to note too, with these members, a couple of them that are not pre-qualified are now getting enrolled into Basic Firefighter 1. With your Basic Firefighter 1, you show up at the training facility with the instructors and your gear is checked and inspected. And they check dates, they check for wear, they make
Right.
sure that it's safe for the course.
Yeah.
So we actually will borrow gear from other towns to get someone started in a class. We may have a member that's wearing a coat that says Chester Hose Company on it.
Yeah.
But it allows them to get going until we can order gear, wait the 8-10 weeks for it to come in once it's made.
Yeah.
You know, so.
But I do really want to reiterate the idea that volunteering for the fire department doesn't mean that you're volunteering to fight fires. If you don't have time or capability or physical abilities or any of that, or just interest, if you don't want to fight fires but you want to participate, the fire department can use some help and with other things. And ambulance, yes, thank you. And you know, we've got an awful lot of people that are interested in volunteering for planning and zoning right now, but it'd be great to get some people interested in volunteering for some of the other things that the town needs.
Absolutely.
And we do have them, and we're thrilled to have these new folks about.
I think it's great, but I only have one more question. Is there any other expenses tied in with this? Any physicals or any training that we have to?
Physicals for all 9 new members have already been, that's already done.
Okay.
As part of their application process. That list there is right down to the traffic safety vests. You know, the minitors that each member carries on their side. We typically have 2 or 3 extras at the station. So when someone has one that breaks, we get 2 or 3 together that need to be sent out for repair. And, you know, we have loaners we can give out, but we don't have 9 or 10 of these things to give out. So
It's
it
impressive.
includes everything, right? The gloves.
That's great.
9 people in one shot is very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so I'd like to have a motion from the board that we can recommend, again, to the Board of Finance tonight, that we find the spot where we're going to fund this from.
Make a motion that we figure out how to fund this.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, rats. We have some reimbursements for the tax collector. I don't have that file in front of me. If you give me just 2 minutes, let me see if I'm not even sure if she dropped it off. Like I said, I was in meetings this morning. If she dropped it off, we'll go through it. If she didn't, we'll have to take it. Excuse me one second.
Electronically, too. Folks, thanks for being here tonight. Appreciate it.
There's 9 volunteers. That's tremendous.
Yeah. Tim's team is very, very special, especially to the American Legion. These guys are top notch.
Okay, we have, as we've done, and we started to do this on a monthly basis, we have reimbursed, we've always been doing it, we just haven't gone through the Board of Selectmen to make it more open and transparent, but there are 2 reimbursements, one to the Essex Savings Bank Escrow Department for $2,452.75, and the other again goes to Toyota Lease Trust for $214.91, for a total of $2,667.66. If we get a motion for the tax collector to reimburse that money.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Nothing. Okay. Audience of citizens, do we have any other business to come before the board?
Oh, come on.
That being said, we are going through the process of our animal control officer. I need to speak with him, but I think we're going to be having a new animal control officer sometime in the next few weeks. Yep. And we're still going through negotiations, but we'll talk about this at the next selectmen's meeting, but it's not an Explorer, but the old police cruiser that I think Pete was driving is, we're talking about selling that to Essex or making it part of the animal control vehicle. We're not using it anymore. The fire department informed me yesterday that they don't have a need for it. So we will either sell it or make some sort of arrangement with Essex to continue to use that. But the new animal control person will again be patrolling for all 3 towns. I think Jay, right now, I believe Jay is going to stay on as a substitute or fill in if she'll back up if she's not available. But just to keep you all apprised of that, Jay's been a tremendous animal control person, but he has trouble with keeping up the books, and there's a lot more to it than just watching, especially wild animals. But so that's going on, and I believe actually that we have the Board of Education is going to fill that position tomorrow night with Dave Baradas.
Good.
Yeah. So, but we'll know that later.
Yeah, good.
Okay. If there's no other business, if we could take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. This is the regular meeting of the Deep River Board of Finance, the regular February 2019 meeting. Someday historians will look back on these things, and I want to make sure they know what we were doing when we were doing it. First item, we should review and approve the regular meeting minutes from our January meeting. Everyone has glanced at those. Laurie has sent them out.
I make motion, we accept the meeting minutes from January's meeting.
I'll second it.
Second that.
Easier
Any
saying
discussion,
out
or
loud.
should we go straight to the vote? All in favor of accepting the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Let us go to audience of citizens. While I recognize citizens, they are also later on our agenda, which I'm going to move up in a minute, and pertaining to the fire department. So unless you have other things you'd like to say. Okay. I will jump slightly ahead to correspondence. I received a letter from the fire department, Tim, which I forgot to bring. But that letter invites us again to the annual fire department banquet, which Tim has shared with me is March 9th at the Gelston House, and what time does it start, Tim? 6:30. Okay. So, and Laura, you have
Yep.
generally inquired of folks whether they can make it.
I will again.
Thank you. With that in mind, way at the bottom of our agenda, published agenda, we are, it indicates that other business, which is Scott Bowden and Tim are here to talk about concerns or issues, the fire department. If Angus is okay with that, anything that is discussed, I assume will have to come through us through a selectman recommendation. So I was going to move them up unless you.
That's fine with me. We can bounce back to the other recommendations, but we voted as a board, and we're not sure where we're gonna find the money, but we voted as a board to move this to you, so we can go to the description and come back to that.
Excellent, okay. Scott, Tim, whoever is the speaker.
Good evening. So we have some copies here of some expenditures for 9 new personal safety turnout gear kits for 9 new volunteers at the Deeper Fire Department. So we're asking that the town fund it out of the current budget so we can put these firefighters online, 6 of which are already qualified to go to work as soon as they finish the probationary period and they get the gear. So we are excited to have 9 new members. It's very unusual in this day and age to get the quality of people that we can consider as members and bring right into the fire department.
And you said 6 of them are all,
It's actually it's five members that are pre-qualified.
and they're pre-qualified to go into a building?
With basic firefighter 1 through the state of Connecticut, with several other certificates and other classes that numerous members have taken. So 5 of them are already pre-qualified to be interior firefighters once they're done with their probation with us.
I think the important thing, as was explained to me, is that this equipment is, it's got a lifespan. So while it is something that you can hand down, and we do hand it down as people maybe stop going into fires, but still go to fires, so they're not inside, you can hand an older set of gear down to those folks. But this is necessary to go inside and do interior firefighting. And while it's a large amount of money, and we need to talk about how we're gonna fund it. It's a rare occasion, to echo Scott, to have this many people come in all at once. But I feel, and I think I'm speaking for the board when I say this, is why we voted it forward. The value of these folks' time and energies and volunteering for this far surpasses this amount of money to make sure we can do what we can to keep them safe when they're doing it. So.
Board of Finance, comments? I'm actually struck, I'll comment, but that's a lot of money for 9 outfits, wow. It's an expensive world that we all live in, you particularly in this one, wow.
The due diligence of the fire department to go to different vendors and to look at their needs and price this gear. I commend them for putting together the sheet, which represents the best we can do. And you'll notice on there, I think 3 up from the bottom, we're even considering refurbished miniatures or pages versus new. So it's been carefully looked at to bring forward to the board in consideration of trimming the expenditure as much as we can, but yet providing the firefighters the gear they need. And it is a long life garment. It's going to be passed down and recycled from first line firefighters to truck drivers, fire police, etc.
Is there any grants or any funding anywhere that helps defray the cost?
Well, we've discussed it in some terms, but this is an immediate need. These people are ready to go to work. We have no equipment for them. So we'd like to move it forward with your consideration to get this gear funded and move forward
We're able
with
to-
these people on it.
We're able to outfit some of them with gear that's older or mixed match sets for their probationary period, but as soon as they come out of probation, which is 6 months from the time their application is accepted, these people are now interior qualified. And by doing the funding now will allow us to get the gear ordered, wait this 8 to 10 weeks for it to be actually custom made and shipped to us, and then the timing will be just about right.
We will, the timing for this did not fit some of the FEMA grants and the AFG grants that we're becoming more and more familiar with. But some of those grants allow for reimbursement. So hopefully, when those grants come back around for applications, we'll try to get this money reimbursed.
These guys aren't outfitted now. Is your force shortened? Are you without manpower, or does this enhance what you already have?
Enhances what we have.
But if an emergency were to arrive, you have enough people to,
We're volunteer, we never know at a moment's notice who's available and who's not. You know, it's who's home.
so all the people you have are all equipped?
Correct.
These are new people, extra people?
Absolutely. Yep.
Can I ask you, this has nothing to do with dollars. When's the last time you had 9 people?
9 new at once, I can never remember.
I knew the answer would be, I don't know, because it's been
We're lucky.
100 years.
Like I said to the Board of Selectmen, it's always been great to get, 1 or 2 in a calendar year. 1 or 2, we can make up, out of our normal operating budget, a set of gear, maybe 2, or a set and a half of gear, and, some old pieces here and there. But for 9 new members, it's just that.
And out of these 9, you expect to keep 9 for some time in the
We
foreseeable
hope so. I
future?
mean, there are people, there are people that have moved to the town, that have purchased homes here in town. Some of which that have been here for a little while and now have decided to join. Several of them are coming from other departments. One in which comes from a paid career firefighter's position. That's what he does during the day and wants to volunteer at night, so. With that comes the knowledge of an individual who, does this stuff every day, all day long in a city that can bring that training, some of the tactics, some of that stuff back to us as volunteers and help us with our training program and stuff like that. So, and that's another good asset, so.
I don't know what's going to happen here, but I'm glad for you guys. I'm glad this is happening. It's good.
And I lost it.
I'll ask the question of Tim, but Jimmy always answers it. You've got money in your budget. Can you absorb any of these costs in this year's budget? And as we prepare, which would mean you'd have to put some things off, of which we would then put into the next budget. Do you have any relief you can give us in this budget?
He does the budget.
And that's why I was trying not to ask you, but
Jimmy does
Jimmy's
all
the one who
the
knows
planning
all.
and all the budget.
You've got money in equipment, don't you? So unused?
We have money in equipment right now. Unfortunately, we've had a lot of expenses in vehicle maintenance, which you'll find is probably overdrawn now.
It's overdrawn now.
Yeah.
We make up, and I've been doing it for a few years, we've never gone over budget. We've always gone without to make our budget come out zero. We'll make it up, but no, we cannot make up 9 cents. No
I
way.
mean, I knew, certainly you can't make up this magnitude. Is there any relief you could offer?
We might be able to take something from somewhere to cover the minuters or something like that, but my feeling is, I'm glad we're here asking for this money, because like you said, it's an asset to get these 9 people. Personally, life safety is number 1, and I think it's number 1 for everybody. To me, the 9 set of gear is a life safety issue, and if nothing else, if we could get them to fund the money for the gear, we'll find some of the money to cover some of the other expenses. But
I don't think you've heard any voices here that does not suggest safety
Right.
is not of the utmost importance. It's I think I'm quoting Angus, where are we going to get the money is the curiosity. And I was trying to push back if you could do anything to provide relief, but,
We'll work any way we can.
The biggest thing, and like Jimmy said, and that's coming up when we have our budget workshop with you folks down the road, vehicle maintenance is a killer, absolute killer this year. We're already out of money, we have bills out there already that we're waiting to have come in, and we have, what we know, about $12,000 to $15,000 worth of vehicle maintenance stuff that needs to be done the moment we hit next year's budget, that we're holding off on right now. Stuff, not life safety stuff with the equipment, but known repairs that has to be done this coming year, that as of July 1, when we get our funding for our vehicle maintenance, that we already know that we have to, that's gonna kill 2/3 of our vehicle maintenance budget next year. You know, so, like Jimmy said, the budget's tight. It may not look it there, but by the time what other stuff do we have coming up? Hose testing, ladder testing?
Yeah. That's all operating expenses.
So we do have
well,
other
there's
things.
about $80,000 you haven't spent. Most of it goes to incentives and stuff. So there's not a lot left in your budget, I can see that, so, but I thought I would ask. Board of Finance, Board of Selectmen, this is a number that we do not have authority to say yay or nay to.
Right.
So it will need to go to a public hearing.
Yeah.
Board of Finance, if that public hearing was to say yay, we could take it out of our unassigned general fund, or this is an asset to the town, it will live for a long period of time, so it conceptually could be taken out of our capital as well.
I was asking, this could be considered a capital expenditure.
Should be considered. And I suggest that, assuming it was approved, we would put it as a variance to our capital line item for the budget. But,
Can I ask this, and I'm not quick with numbers, but I don't know what that number is that you have, that you can approve, but what concerns me is the stuff that has long lead times. And I'm wondering if we can break this up in a manner and get our coats and pants ordered, get approval to order. The structural firefighting gloves are off the shelf. The boots are pretty readily available. The minitors are readily available. The harnesses are readily available. The biggest thing are the coats for the 12-688 and the pants for the 92-90-70. Those two items there are the ones that are actually custom measured and fit for the firefighter and ordered.
Well, I
They have a
think
long lead time.
I understand where you're coming from, but I think it's kind of academic. If we're gonna purchase all this stuff for them eventually, and we approve the money, you don't have to spend it all today. You then do what you have to do. You order your long lead items beforehand and so on, et cetera, and then, as things come along, you do what you have to do. So it's not a matter of, well, let's do this, then come back and ask for more money.
No, that wasn't what I was
That's
thinking.
not
I
what
think the
we
answer
want.
to your question is that even taking those other things out, you're still over the threshold
That was
that
my question.
we still need to go to town meeting even for that.
That threshold's $10,000.
Okay.
And while I appreciate your cutting it up, it just doesn't, it's trouble. We've got to go and get the two that you identified. We cannot do that without going to town meeting, so we should put them all together. It is all one request, and dividing it up just does not seem
I would not
fair.
divide it up. My only reason for dividing it was I didn't know what that
So you can get
number
a
was
word.
for.
Yeah.
All right, this is, Angus, you want to recommend going to a town meeting and taking it from capital, or do you want the Board of Finance to say the same thing and give it back to you? What,
I
any
don't,
thoughts?
I think the Board of Selectmen pretty conclusively agreed that this is something that we should do. And I do think, given, if you all feel the same way, then we should move it to town meeting and have this conversation and take it. I would suggest that capital is the place to take it from. But we're gonna have more conversation tonight about other
More
meetings and
conversations about
other things to do,
capital,
so
that's correct.
I think, Yeah, our recommendation would be to go to town meeting.
If it comes out of the capital fund, what does it deplete us to? If this comes out, what does that leave us with in there?
I think the number is about 260, so it would take us closer to 2. One more push. Does everything need to be funded now, or can we move some of these to next year's budget?
When are they done with their probation and all that kind of thing?
Two of them are already off, and two come off this coming month, and then two in 2 months.
Okay.
I mean, they'll all be off within the next.
By the time the gear, if we ordered the gear tomorrow, by the
Yeah.
time the gear got here, we'd need it. for the
Yeah.
individuals.
Yeah.
Because it's that long of a lead time.
Yep.
I think that's why the chief is looking for a yay to go ahead and order it, and then, but then, like you're saying, you
Yeah,
gotta go to a town
we
meeting.
have to go to town meeting.
Right.
We can't really say, go ahead and do that.
Which puts you in an awkward spot, which Angus would probably be signing with you, but conceptually, until the town says yes, you do not have authority to spend the money. So you run some degree of risk if you begin to order stuff ahead of time. So it's the life we live.
Yeah, so if you are all in agreement with us, I'd suggest that we move it forward as quickly as we can, if we all are of the same mind.
So, Board of Finance, what do you wish to do? Do you wish to accept the recommendation from the Board of Selectmen that we take to a town meeting the request to spend $34,992 or $35,000 to acquire safety equipment for new recruits?
Looking for a motion?
If you're comfortable with that motion.
I'll make the motion, we move the $34,992.62 to town meeting, and I agree with the selectmen.
I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion? All right, let's call it to a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, Angus, it is up to you to
I'll
schedule a town meeting. Okay. And in an attempt to be witty, I assume that you could get some firemen to help show up, right? To support that vote.
If they want this gear, they'll be here.
Sometimes we have different voices at town meetings. Thank you, guys.
Sam.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, my goodness. Where have all the flowers gone?
They're down there.
Far away.
Okay, hold on.
It's all right.
Don't go yet.
Jim doesn't go, he'll join me. All right. I suggest we drop back to our usual, our agenda, and have, Tommy, do you want to chat about how much money we have?
Does everyone have, report? Yeah. You know, just before I start, I would like to recognize Dick Daniels' passing.
Years ago, I actually served on the Board of Selectmen with Dick, and I always had the utmost respect for him. And his passing leaves a void in the town of Deep River.
Is that Ricky Daniels' dad?
Father.
Yes.
I hadn't heard that one.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
Last week.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
But there are no, I don't believe there are any calling hours or whatever.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He served on the Board of Finance, and he served on the Selectmen?
Yeah, he was a selectman way back in the 70s when I was a selectman with him.
Wow, he was,
On the harbor, right?
Yeah, and he owned, that's right, he owned the hardware store.
he was
Yeah.
like the voice of town.
Yeah, so I thought we could recognize that and our condolences to his family.
Absolutely. Great. Wonderful guy.
So as far as the town deposits,
Dick Daniels. Ricky's dad works.
I did make a $275,000 transfer today, so the People's United account is down $275,000, so it now has $5,627,334 in it. So during the month of February, I actually made 3 transfers from People's United into our general fund for a total of $875,000. So if you look at the total that we have, well, the total that's in there now, which was $5,627,000, and we add another 600,000 onto that, from tax revenues and whatever, it brought us over $6,227,000. Also, if you go down to the Dime Bank account, that's the Kirtland and River Street Sewer Expansion Project, which that has been completed. There was $11,013.17 that was actually transferred to the general fund on February 5th. And it zeroed out that account. Dime would not close it until I sent them a letter, so I've attached the letter that I sent here to Dime. And I got word today that they actually closed the account, so there's that. If you look at the bottom of the report, we're $389,825 ahead of where we were last year. If you look at the 2018 number, and after I've taken that $275,000 out of our accounts today, so we're ahead of where we were last year.
But that is all accounts, right?
Yes, all accounts. Yes, that's right.
Do you have the ability to say how further we are in the general fund? Because others have, all these others have done fundraisings, et cetera, et cetera. So it's sort of deceiving to include them.
Yes, I could try to figure that out, but I don't have, I don't have that number. We do have a meeting scheduled for Monday, March 4th at 4 here in the town hall to review the town employees and the firefighter pension plans, and I just gave you all a notice of that too. If anyone wants to attend, you certainly can. Nick will be there, and Bud, and Peter Lewis, Scott Bodman from the fire department, myself.
Can you tell me what reviewing it means?
Well, they actually supply us with actually up-to-date information on our investments, and they'll review all our investments. Where the contributions that the town has made into the different funds, and they'll show us what our return is. In fact, we certainly can give you a copy of that when we do receive it, because they give everyone that goes to the meeting actually up-to-date information. And gives everyone at the meeting too a chance to question them and ask for information as well. It's kind of an interesting time now with the market, the way the market's been going. It'll be interesting to see where we stand.
Yeah, it's something, it's just our responsibility to meet a few times a year to ensure that we're where we think we should be.
So it's not to change contributions or deductions or increases, or it's just to go over the plans that you already have in place, make sure that they're doing well? Okay.
Question if they're not?
Yeah, we try to, Nick said, we try to have, 3 or 4 of those meetings a year.
Thank you.
That's pretty much all I have.
Tom, you accepted last month a question. We're setting money aside to pre-fund the future assessment. You were going to think about, and that's as much as you committed to. Should we put that into a separate account, because it could get, it'll just blend into unassigned fund balance? Well, I think we will
You're
remember.
talking about the 25% that each town is supposed to put toward the teachers.
No, the $20,000.
No, the 20,000 for the assessment.
We are collecting in the next 3 years, including this year, $20,000 to pre-fund the grand assessment for the town.
Oh, okay.
And while it's a small number, I'm just curious, is there an account that you could put it in? So we always remember it is there and not part of the general.
Can we get?
We can't trust ourselves not to spend it.
We can't.
No, but can we get an account that's very general, that is specified for capital expenditures, or to have selectmen, I don't know how to title it, but something that doesn't say, okay, this is reevaluation only, because there are other things that we want to put money aside periodically for the next 3 years to plan ahead money.
I
Is there
think
any
that
way we
would
can do
be,
an
it
untitled?
might fall under the category of a sinking fund. And I think if we're going to do something like that, which I'm totally in favor of for some larger projects, we can identify them as we create them. Just like we did for the, I thought we did for the reval.
We've talked about it, and that's the question, can Tommy do it? We can certainly create an accounting concept that sort of calls upon those dollars, but I'm just curious, if we're not going to use these dollars for several years, can Tommy put it somewhere and add a few dollars to it? That's always my question.
That is, it's been my question for a long, long time when I was on the Board of Finance in Westbrook even. There were some times when you were not able to do that, that you could not make an investment with money.
Or an interest.
Or an interest on it, right, yeah.
Conceptually, I'll build upon Laura's, but I don't think it's we could put it over there in the capital fund. We have an account for the capital monies. We could put it over there, and we just have to keep track of what it is, but it'd be nice to have one by itself, but it's only got $20,000, $40,000, $60,000, so whether Tommy can find a bank that is tolerant of taking those low dollars at some marginal or no cost.
And the organic, you're allowed to. Or
We're
interest
allowed
on
to,
it.
right?
Yeah.
I think we'd have to check out each one individually if we're allowed to do this.
It is a question. Okay. It is, Angus, we're back to you. Recommendations of selectmen?
Recommendations or just conversations? A couple of smaller items first.
All depends on the tone.
Just so you can, just to keep you all apprised, MIRA, our recycling, it's not just recycling, it's part of the name though, Materials Innovation and Recycling Authority, where our transfer station brings our household waste. Their rates, they've had a horrendous year as far as calamities go. They've been trying as hard as they can. They're not operating right now, other than collecting things and sending it to other areas. They don't, their furnace went down or something broke. They're not able to properly dispose of this, burn whatever they burn and all that kind of thing. As a result of all that, and this has been ongoing for quite a long time, they finally have determined that they need to raise their rates per ton earlier than the beginning of the next fiscal year. Beginning on April 1st, the rates will go up $9.35 per ton. July 1st, an additional $1.65 will go on to that, so it'll be in the end, it'll be an $11 per ton increase. The important part for this right now is that we will see an increase beginning in April. So we're going to have a few months where and I think, looking at the budget, I'm never sure how much tonnage we actually are eliminating, but I think we have enough in the budget that will cover that. If we don't, it won't put a lot of strain on it. But I just want you all to be aware of it. When you see this starting in April, you'll see an increase in expenditures.
Are we called upon to pay them?
Monthly.
Monthly?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they start in April,
Yeah.
we would, April, May, we would receive a bill?
Yeah.
And,
Yep, May, June, and July.
so we'd see, so we really see.
We should
no,
see-
no, we would see
no,
three.
July we would see,
Accountants will
yeah.
bring it back
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
So we'll see where that lands, but I just wanted to make you aware of that. I just got the letter this week, so.
How much is it total each
What's the
month?
percentage of the increase?
I don't have it, I don't have that information. It's gone up.
Went up last year.
It went up last year.
But how much is it? How much roughly are we spending a month?
I don't have that information either. I'm sorry, I just didn't prepare. I want to say that I don't know. It would be the best way. I'll email you all what we're spending per month, but I don't have it monthly.
When we get to the monthly budget, we get divided by.
Yeah, it's really it would be an average because it's different every month.
I assume it's got some seasonality to it.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yep, it does. Other information, conversation, request comes from the audit. Our audit has been completed. And parts of that audit indicated a couple of things where the auditor is recommending, and I think we're going to have to, some carry forward, some debt. Bud and I had a good long conversation with the auditor the other day. And I don't know that we have to take action today, but so we all can get thinking about it. There was a deficit in our capital projects fund that includes 2 different projects, one of which we've been apparently, and I don't know, I don't have any idea how this got as far as it got, but our town hall refurbish project was overspent by $50,000, $50,438. That has sat for 8 years. It's not money that we have to put out, we just have to move it from our capital projects fund into our general fund. We already paid it, but as far as I can tell, and Bud can correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as I can tell, this was money, the project was overrun, was paid for without going to town meeting to authorize that additional spending.
If you brought it up, I'll come with the same subject. I'll come with the same subject, okay? Here's things I wish to pass out, and they are both good news, and we'll follow up on what Angus is saying. Let's deal with the good news first. The second of the 2 memos is the one that Angus is referring to. I will get to that in a moment.
Does everybody have that?
Yeah, you know what I did?
You did
I
the wrong
strategically
thing.
handed the 2 different memos to different sides.
Yep, okay, so.
Well, I said
I'm going to-
strategically, that was an attempt to cover the fact I made a mistake.
I gave this back to you. That's who's number one.
The first page I offer to you is entitled "The Fiscal Year 2017-18. This is the number from our annual report from the auditors was filed with the state. We have met our obligations to the state. I would like you to look at some of these numbers, and hopefully you will tolerate some of my uncertainty. The audit is done by accountants. I am a member of that profession, but I get easily confused. Accountants have certain rules, and accountants believe that period cost. There should be a cost that is incurred within a period. It should be recorded in that period. And they use accruals to let you know that it's recorded in that period and not a future period. But we do not use accruals in our budgets. You are familiar with our budget. We budget revenues and we do budget expenses. Therefore, I suggest a number that we should take confidence in. It's my first line, final budget. And you'll see there the final budget. And remember, around August or something, we moved dollars around amongst expenditures to create a final budget. So there is our final revenue number, our final expenditure numbers. Next month, we will have copies of the annual report, and we'll go through this a little bit more. That budget, the one we look at, suggests that we have a surplus. We spent less than what we took in, of $462,000, $490. Okay. I suggest that is a good number and deserves we should take comfort in that number. Again, the accountants look at things differently. They come up with a different number, a higher number. We can talk about that but in more detail when we get the report, but I think 462 is enough money that we should be happy. All right? Now, we have added out, taking from last year's audited report, we keep telling ourselves we ended with a surplus, a cumulative surplus of $880,070. The accountants wish to restate that number, and Angus hit upon it partially there, we'll hit upon it in a moment. They wish to say we overstated that or spent $75,000 of those dollars, giving us a $805,000 surplus. I won't round. Yeah? That is good. Now,
So you're saying surplus, but that was the beginning of the year for 2017, or?
that's correct. That was the
fiscal
beginning of
2017.
27, correct. If you drop down, that, I think I'm following that exact question. When we stood in front of the town in May, we grabbed that 880,070 as our surplus. We told the town at the time, we thought we would have revenues in excess of expenditures, and we gave an estimate of about $920,000 we would end the year. We have done better than that. All right? We have $350,000 approximately more. Now, that is good. Everyone should be happy. I myself pause. We missed an estimate by over 2%. And I want this to be a happy discussion. We have generated a substantial budget surplus, except we may have done things differently if we had a better idea. I have an idea what we would have done differently. I have no idea what we could have done to get a better estimate of what that number is. 2% is a lot of money. $350,000 is a lot of money to miss. We may not have asked for an increase, but I don't know. It is just a story. I'm going to categorize it in, this is a complicated world we live in.
I think that we've spoken about this already, and we, in the past, and we've, and you may have touched on it a little bit here, but, when we prepared this budget, we did not have, it was about $300 and something thousand that we got additional money from the state.
We got money in June. That's why when we told the town, we used the best information we had.
Yeah.
So it is a good
But it
story
was-
of just,
I don't think there's any other way we could have gone.
I don't either, just after the fact.
Yep.
It is the story. I now wish to tell you a story about my life. When I was a real full-fledged accountant working for a corporate world, every year at the end of the year, we closed down our books and we went to our banks. How much cash is in the bank? And then we built upon it. It was a factual number. In fund accounting, at least the accounting done here, that is not done. The estimate of the surplus we have is a running accounting estimate. Okay? We have never, so nowhere has anyone ticked and tied to the amount of cash we have. So while I think we could be comfortable saying we're going into the next year with a surplus of about 1.3767, it is still a vague number. We never actually see it. Tommy never closes the books down in June and sees that money sitting there. We've got money moving so often. So it's an accounting construct. Okay? Now, I wish to suggest this is good news. The accountants, however, suggest this is still too low. When we look at the the auditor's report, you will see on the first note, they believe this number is approximately 8% of our expenditures, which they think is too low.
Say what that number is, that is too low.
The 1.26, they're going to come in with a higher number. They're going to use the accounting number. And they're still going to say that represents about 0.9 of a month that we can handle if we don't have dollars coming in. They do not think it is high enough. We stand in front of the town. We sit here amongst ourselves and tell ourselves the surplus is too low.
1.267 million.
It just troubles me when you say 1.26 and say it's too low, but as a percent of our budget, we're a $16, $17 million budget. That is not a big number.
But of that 1.2 that we could spend in a month if we didn't have anything, we're spending, what, 900 on the schools every month? How much are we spending?
What's that again, the school?
How much are we spending on the schools every month? What's their billing?
We spend about
70% of our monthly budget.
Right, so what is it, around 900, I think?
75%,
Yeah, so every single month, and that leaves that little teeny bit to pay everybody else's electricity, salaries. So, no, it's not a lot. really isn't a lot.
Well, it's surplus, it's what's not in our budget.
And then we have the fire department that comes, and that's a very valid request.
It's extremely
Totally
valid
into
request.
But then we also have whatever, we've got 40,000 worth of trees that need to be taken care of. That's not in the budget. There's a lot of things that this
It's more
town
like
really
an
needs.
emergency, though.
It's an emergency,
That's
that is
a rainy
correct.
day fund.
Yes.
If the state, God forbid, should shut down tomorrow, and we get no money, and our tax money is not coming in for some bizarre reason, and you have to live for a month.
Right.
You and Angus and others have figured out when we were going through bad times last year,
Yeah.
we go through about 1.5 million a month.
Mhm.
Just in bills, right, on
Yes.
average.
12 months a year, and we're about $17 million budget, that's
One
correct.
point,
Yeah.
not quite 1.3 is not a month's worth.
Not
You're-
much.
It's
It's not
3.5 weeks worth.
Right.
Now, I want to pick up the theme you're getting with, there are other costs. Angus started this, I have given you the memo that Angus is calling upon. All right? It will also attempt to explain, while the auditors have restated our surplus, that's $75,000. You'll notice in that first note, they are saying that our general capital projects, we overspent by $75,000. Which they claim we have not accounted for correctly. They have gone and taken, it has been paid for, but it therefore should be taken out of what we estimate to be our surplus. That is why what we ended last year at 880, and they're saying it a better number would have been 805. Now, here's,
Is that sewer, is that their bond?
you have every right to ask the question.
And you have no answer.
Someday soon, Angus and I will be able to answer that
Okay.
question, okay? We were taken by surprise by this. We think it is, and Angus should take over, we think there is a mismatching of several things that were just done in normal maintenance that are in our budget.
I
and paid
believe
for.
that. I also know that there were, as that project was underway, there were additional services that were required. For example, on Kirtland Street, when they were installing the sewer, they discovered that the pipe, that some storm drainage piping under the road had collapsed. While they were there doing the work, we had them correct that problem. I believe, and Kathy's looking into this, that the cost of that was additional cost. It was not part of the sewer project, but because it was done by the same people, it was slipped into that accounting. I think we're gonna find that a good portion of this number is not gonna, it's not going to be as big as it's shown here. It's just a matter of digging deeper into the project and into what was done around the project. I know there was some additional paving that was done. Things that, when the water company came down there subsequent to the sewer and replaced some sections. All of that, I believe, and Kathy will be able to, hopefully next month, we'll be able to tell you that this is where that came from. And it will be a restatement as more than it will be a moving of any funds.
So the cat has left us.
Yes,
This is where it gets a little
that's the
vague.
important thing.
No one is standing outside demanding to be paid. Cat, whoever it is has been paid. What the accountants did is adjusted their estimate of how much surplus we ended last year. Okay. Now, we then go into 2 and 3. Angus is going to have to take over again. And he actually has said this. There is an additional deficit of $133,550 in the capital funds. We again think that is part of the sewer confusion.
Part of it.
Part of it, thank you very much. I have to read the next sentence. This includes a carry forward deficit of $50,438 from Fund 080 activity. That is the renovation of the town hall.
That was the $50,000 Angus was
Yes,
just talking
correct.
about, but that's
Yep.
paid already.
It's all been paid. All of this money has been paid.
All of it has been paid. No one is
It's
expecting to be
just-
paid.
it's-
It just is going to reduce our accounting estimate of surplus.
Right. That's right.
Now, we should spend a moment on this 50,000. when this was being the town hall was being renovated, approximately 8 years
That was
ago.
finished 8 years ago.
There was an over expenditure, what was authorized by the town, by the Board of Finance. We don't have authority to spend $50,000. Whoever overspent it did not have the authority to overspend $50,000. We have to clean this up. We have to have another town meeting and explain to people, 8 years ago, we renovated town hall and we overexpended our authority.
Is that part of the HVAC system that went in?
It's part of all the work that was done in this building, with the exception of the auditorium.
Back on those minutes.
You'll see nothing in minutes.
There's
It was never discussed with us.
I would appreciate if you have the time to look for that, but it's my recollection that there was never any conversation.
Because I know we talked about the HVAC.
Oh, we did.
And
We did
talked about
indeed.
the windows and we talked
We
about
did
the.
indeed. We talked about a budget, et cetera. It was overexpended. And it's sitting there as a payable on the accounting books of the town. We do not see it in our revenues and expenditures on a monthly basis.
Right. That's the frustration. That was the bigger punch in the gut on this statement that we got from the accountants. That $50,000 has been sitting there for 8 years, and this is the first time that either Bud or I heard of it.
The other accountants never brought this up.
No one mentioned it, ever.
Yeah, how did it show up now, I guess? That was my question.
Bud can explain it better than I can.
Like where do we get service?
I can,
Yeah.
but I have no explanation. The explanation is, it was always there. And if you ever wanted to see it, Bud, it was on the.
Well, that was the answer,
It
because I was furious.
always on our accounting statement, but why didn't you look on the payables and receivables? It got me, I didn't. Angus and I tried to put it back on the accountants. You've been our accountants for 2 years, why didn't you point it out to us now? And they said, we're getting to know your books better.
But they never brought it up.
There is no excuse, there is absolutely
There is
no
no
excuse.
excuse. The previous accountants
There's no
were here
excuse.
for 5 years, never brought it up.
And they never brought it up in the
No.
letters to, you know,
Nope.
you've got to consider
Nope.
doing this, you've got to consider doing that, they never
Yeah.
brought any of that up.
I don't understand the process. How could it not be found if it was always there?
I know.
On the accounting books of the company. We, as a group, do
Is it
not
listed
look
as
at the
something
assets
else?
and liabilities of the company, of the town.
Did it come under a different heading, a different
Yeah.
expenditure, or?
If next month when we go over the accounting books, you will see assets and liabilities. It will be a liability on the book. It was there on the books of the town. It
So
was
they
there.
showed it to you.
No.
No one said, Bud, come in and look at our books. But the book, I got the annual report. I'm gonna bring all of you with us. You got them all the annual reports, and there it was.
Yeah.
We don't look at the accounting statements. We look at basically a source and use of fund statement.
That's exactly right.
We just don't look for it. We didn't ask for it. Nobody showed it to us.
We didn't know it was there to be looked for.
We need to be very careful. We pay accountants $25,000, probably $25,000 a year to look at our books, how we maintain records of our company, and they said you didn't do it correctly. So it's difficult for me, and I asked you to join me, to sit around and say, why didn't you find it before, accountant? Why didn't you find where I made a mistake on my books? Why didn't you tell me that I'm not doing my books correctly? It's an awkward conversation, but we have to clean up. It's standing there.
Yeah.
We have an expenditures that we do not have authority to make.
But it's not in our monthly budget report that we ever review.
No, it's
We're
not.
never given that.
It's not.
It's not.
It is in the report every year that we get. We don't dig deep into that book. We listen to their report, we look at the bottom line, we look at our deficits and all this kind of thing. To Bud's point, and I will couch this with, when I first saw this, I flipped. I think Bud did the same. You guys are just seeing it now. But and you're flipping, and rightfully so. Bud and I have had a week, more or less, to digest it and to understand that it's not the accountant's fault for not pointing it out. It's not our fault for not seeing it, not reading this thing line by line, their report. It was an over expenditure that happened 8 years ago. I don't think anybody around this table was aware of it. The money was spent. We're not having to spend another $50,000. We simply have to move it from one account to another.
And take it out of the paper surplus.
Take it out of the paper surplus. That's the bigger hit, that I think, because we've worked pretty hard over the last 4 years to get that surplus to where it's at least palatable. It was woefully low, dangerously low before. It is still lower than it should be, but I'm going to reduce my efforts to continue to jack it up. I think it's much more comfortable now. There's a tremendous amount of frustration with this, but the explanation is just it's where that's the explanation that I have, is that.
And we'll return to this in a few moments. I think we have to go to a town meeting. And I guess I'd sort of like to get that behind us.
I don't think we have any choice but
I
to
don't think we
go
have
to
any
town
choice. We have no
If
authority to
you're at
spend
a town
money.
meeting, what are you gonna say?
Exactly what we're saying right here.
And it's,
Count says you haven't got authority to spend that money.
But you're not asking for anything. You're not asking to spend the money because you've already spent it.
no, but it's a transfer of funds from one line to another.
Yeah.
And we do that in the end of the fiscal year anyhow.
Right.
We take from this line to cover expenditures already spent to that line. So in
No,
that
I'm
sense,
not
it's
sure that's true. I think we are asking the town to allow us to confirm the fact that we spent $50,000 we did not have authority to spend.
Can't unring the bell, though. You know?
Can't
No.
unring the bell.
It's just
Can't put
it's
the
an
genie
accounting
back in that
thing.
bottle. That is
It's
correct.
an accounting, and we have to
Yeah.
reduce the surplus by that, I get that. What's their confidence level that we don't have any other submarines? Or did you ask them?
Well,
Seriously.
no, in all seriousness, it seems as if, to me anyway, it feels as if about once a year we find something like this.
Yeah.
That comes back to get us. And
Right.
every time I ask the same question, is this it? It's all we found so far. I don't know. I don't have an answer. They say the same thing.
Right, yeah, well, they didn't bring it up last year.
They didn't bring it up.
I'm sorry.
It didn't catch their attention until this year.
Since we're having so much fun at number 2, let's go on to number 3.
oh my God.
Yeah, this one.
And by the way, Bill, if you didn't think we had a good answer for the last one, wait till we get to this one. 3, there is a reported deficit of $41,474 in the school lunch fund. This deficit will also need to be funded through an appropriations and transfer in from the general fund to the extent the school lunch fund cannot generate sufficient surpluses to cover the deficit. We're asking, how can you have a $41,000 deficit in the school lunch fund?
Isn't this
The school gave us money
Is
back.
this the same school that gave us $150,000 back because they didn't need it?
Yes, sir. Same school. We're asking questions.
At this point, there is absolutely no explanation that we have been given as to how this happened. There's just, it's payroll, mostly, generated by payroll. But how can it not be budgeted for is my biggest question. How can you say that you're $41,000 overspent without letting us know as it's happening, for crying out loud?
This is the elementary school.
It's the elementary school.
Elementary school, yeah.
Is it an increase in kids who are doing free lunches or something?
Nope.
Lunch programs?
I don't know. Angus may be more comfortable there.
That I do know that it is not that. This is mostly payroll.
Operational
Yeah,
costs?
Yep. But we're trying to get some answers on this. We
How
really.
do they not know what they're paying people and how many people they're paying and
That
what
is-
their benefits are and all that?
That's precisely the question that I asked, and that Bud is asking.
Are they still contracting with having one chef at the school that oversees all the programs up at the high school?
As far as I know, there has been no change.
And they're bringing lunches down to everybody here?
Well, they're
Or
doing, they're
whatever
preparing the
doing.
lunches here.
They're doing prep, but they're
But the
overseen by
food is purchased through
Food is purchased,
through one,
okay.
one.
one vendor.
Yeah, yeah.
Or whatever, yeah. But this payroll and up.
Again, we will have answers for this,
Yes.
but
So if we add all these up, we're at a couple $100,000.
I think we're at about 100. I think we're gonna find, I think we'll find that of that 133 in item 2, that'll whittle down. My hope is that whittles down to 50.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, we're looking at 98.
98 and then 35 for the firefighters, right?
Yep. Oh, the conversation is not anywhere near ended yet.
Yeah, okay, just getting started.
Yeah.
And the school is not offering any way of saying, okay, we can pay for it from
Their general fund.
their
School-
general
yeah,
fund,
school
their
doesn't-
rainy day fund, although they don't have a rainy day fund. The
We
other
will,
schools-
well, no, that is part of the conversation.
No, they have a sinking fund.
Well, we're getting rid of the
Wrong
sinking
school.
fund.
Yeah.
It is part of the conversation, but it is the
school,
wrong
but they're
school. This is not a
getting-
Region 4 issue, this is a deeper elementary school
Yeah.
issue. And it is absolutely no consolation, but I will tell you that Chester is going through the same thing.
The same kind of a deficit in their food lunch program?
So I don't think theirs is as big, and I don't know the details of it, but I know that they're going through the same.
Okay, can we have a general accounting at the main school where all the billing is being, the
That's where
payroll?
we're going
Because
through. That's the-
That sounds like there's somebody,
That's the source. I can tell you that I believe it has something to do with the transition between Garth and Kim.
yeah,
And I don't have any details. so I
not
can't
pointing any
really say
fingers,
anything.
but I
No,
think they need to redo their.
I have no details. I can't tell you. There's nothing to say at this point, other than what we've already said.
I gotta say, this one bothers me more than the $50,000 from 8 years ago. because,
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't on the Board of Finance 8 years ago. And
I was, but I don't remember.
most of the crew was different, but this one bothers me. This happened this year, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
In the last year or so.
Well, remember, this is not a part of any budget that we look at all. This is the school's.
Well, it's been happening every year.
Right. It might have, I couldn't tell you. It might have been and been being buried with, moving monies around.
They offered us money back too. I mean, if they'd known this, they would have just offered us less money back.
I would have thought.
Right?
Yeah.
One would think.
Yeah.
Well, how big, I don't understand it. How can you have a $41,000 deficit and say we don't owe any bills?
All I can tell you is that we will hopefully have more answers, and if we don't have them to our satisfaction and don't feel comfortable that we can answer them, then we will have folks from Region 4 Accounting Office here to talk about it. I don't have answers for you right now.
Who do you go to get the answers on this?
Kim is the new Garth up at Region 4, that she's monitors all those books. She manages all those books.
And she's in charge of Chester's monitoring and
All
our
three
monitoring and
elementary schools go through that,
Essex's?
yeah. And we'll have answers, or an explanation, anyway. Now, while you're back on your heels, let me, I hope I can get to everything tonight. We received a reply from the State Department of Education regarding our request for a waiver on the MBR. And as you might anticipate, that was denied. We can continue to argue. Ruth and I have spoken with the first selectman up in Preston. We've spoken with quite a few other folks around. The general consensus is that we will not be successful. My opinion is that we will not be successful arguing that. More important to my decision and the board's selectmen's recommendation to you is that we may in fact jeopardize future ECS funding by arguing this more vehemently than we already have. I mean, we put a good letter together. We argued strenuously that we did not affect, that we fit the criteria for a waiver by far. The letter, basically, the response letter says, well, we just don't, we have never issued a waiver, and we don't want to start here. It's a bit. So what we're recommending is that we put that $68,000 back into the Board of, the Deep River Elementary School budget.
About to get rid of the $41,000 deficit.
Actually, what the consensus is, Ben, with conversation with the elementary school Board of Education, is that we have monies that we're going to need to invest in the school anyway, structurally, the biggest being enhancement of the safety issues at the entrance to the elementary school. But we also have heating valves that need to be replaced. We think that we're going to need to spend that money anyway. So rather than continue this fight and then maybe even if we're successful, we still are going to have to put money into this next year for that. The agreement, if you can say there's an agreement, we certainly don't have any control once we put it in there, but the agreement thus far is that we will put this money back into that budget. When we do
that work.
it will be spent on that work. Right. If you remember, I came in here a few months ago with a proposal for some energy enhancements of the school, the town hall, and the library. Part of that, it's a net zero cost, and one of the choices there was going to not be net zero. It was going to cost us some money because the cost of the valves was such that it was going to overexpend what we would be able to get it back to net zero. By replacing some of these valves now, we can get that so that it will be back to, when we do that work, if we move forward with that work, it will be back to a net zero. So it's all money, if it's spent properly and paid attention to, that in the end, we would be spending anyway. So I think it's worth, and frankly, I would rather spend my energies up in Hartford arguing against the teacher's pension proposal and the mandated school regionalization, or greater regionalization. Right now, they're taking any school that's less than 2,000 population is required to expand their region. So we might be required to join in with HK or with Old Saybrook or something like that, just because we have fewer than 2,000 kids in our schools.
The fact that they're trying to take away the cars again, the taxes
Yep.
raised from the cars.
Yep.
That's
So I spent a good portion of this morning up working with other selectmen. We'll be up testifying or at least submitting testimony that this teacher's pension thing is absolutely out of the question. It's just not. It's not. I don't believe it's legal. Number one, but number two, they want the towns to be within 3 years to paying 25% of the teacher's pension, and it's my belief is that if they're going to do that, I say forget about the teacher's pension. Any new teachers, just put them on Social Security, eliminate the darn thing, But I don't think. To bring that back around, I don't think we will be successful trying to argue for a waiver, and I would rather spend that time and energy arguing against this proposal than trying to argue this, where I think we will end up having to either the ramifications are such that we will be spending double that in 2 years.
I think you're right, you have to pick your fights.
Yeah.
And you're gonna spend the money anyways,
Mm-hmm.
so why bother?
Yep, that's kind of what I'm trying to say.
And I'm in agreement with that, except what do we do next year? We gotta put the same number back in?
Well, we are
Well, we're
allowed.
already-
So, yeah, you're gonna have to. I mean,
No,
I
we are
can't.
allowed to cut certain amounts.
We are allowed a percentage. The trouble is that formula is given to us after our budget is done. So we don't know. It's a guess. There is legislation proposed that will change the MBR rules and make it more acceptable to the state for us to make our budget more representative of our student population.
Well, we cut them last year because we had a legitimate amount we could cut, and we did that. Then they turned around and said, we don't need the money, so we're gonna give it back to you. Well, I don't know how you handle that. But then when the state comes back and says, no, they can't give it back to you, you gotta give it back to them. I mean, I don't know how you handle that.
This was part of the budget. This is not any money that got reimbursed. They came to us with a budget that reduced, it was a good reduction. I think it was.
No, they made a good reduction.
Yeah. I think it was responsible. It was a responsible budget. And the state, based on their formula, says it was $68,000 too low, and we need to put that back. If we don't put that back, then we will be penalized $140,000 in next year's ECS funding. And you know, I can't prove any of this, but I don't think that the state is beyond retribution, and it could penalize us and reduce our ECS if they see too much of this kind of thing. We depend, and this is something Dwayne and Bill and I have spoken about a number of times, is I don't like our dependence on the state, but $1.5 million would be a pretty big blow to this town. So.
Mr. New Geller says I'm gonna reduce town taxes.
Well, that's part of this whole teacher's pension, it's part of all this. All it does is it pushes things down to property tax.
Yeah,
You know?
so you're not reducing town taxes.
Nope.
That's correct. What's our breakout? Do you happen to know on, like, what the motor vehicle and taxes?
I knew last year during the budget, I don't remember.
That was just a suggestion I had on our line.
It's about,
Is it possible to break that out?
it's a good percentage of our budget. I want to suggest it's 2%, but I'm not sure.
I'm just wondering if we could account for that. Like in anticipated revenues? We just have it all lumped in. Under
I
property
can
taxes.
get that number for you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just curious.
Yeah, no,
what that would be.
I remember last year when they were threatening to take that away. Part of our argument, I sort of sent a letter up to the governor saying this is this much of our budget that you're going to eliminate. So what you're doing is putting it out to property.
It's like 11%, state funds are about 11% of our budget. I did the math. Yes.
No, but I don't know what the part,
The
what
motor
percentage.
vehicle, because if it goes up to the
Oh,
state and we don't get
okay.
it back,
Got it,
right?
got it,
Which
that's right.
isn't
No, we won't
normal.
get that.
Well, they claim they're giving it back to you for something, right?
That will go straight to the cities.
Right, exactly,
That will
right,
never
so I'm
come
just
back.
saying, it would be nice to know what that is. I was looking at our revenue sheet here, just, and this might be a typo thing, there's zero in it, but there's two teachers' retirement fund pension lines.
That's
That
a zero.
was some of the.
There's a 41750 and a 47150, it's probably a flip-flop.
No.
There's two lines.
Oh, it's in our line, okay.
Yeah, there's,
The revenue side?
yeah, if you look in the revenue side, there's a 47,150 line and a 41,750 line. The two second and third numbers have been juxtaposed, I believe.
I'll bring it up then.
Yeah, so we're gonna have a doozy of a town meeting.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
So we have three things at town meeting?
I believe, there's no, we don't have to put that money back into the school budget until the end of the fiscal year. So there's no rush to do that. There's no reason to have one meeting for that and then another meeting for these other things.
Yeah.
There is a kind of a rush on these audit cleanups. Just because they want to, they want to close it out and have everything done. So we'll be talking with them about what their schedule is for that, and we'll try to get something scheduled, but there's no immediate need, immediate, like, we don't have to schedule it for 2 weeks from now. It could be next month, in our next month's meeting or something like that.
I think the $50,000 one will be easy, you know, you can just say
Well, it's
it's
a
an old
difficult-
one that's been hanging around and
Yeah,
spent 8 years
it's a
ago.
difficult explanation,
Yeah,
but
that's,
the 41,000 we'll have a better answer for.
yeah, that one, that's a.
Is that all, or do you have more?
That's all from me, I believe. Laura, you had a bunch of questions on the budget. If you want, I can answer those now, or we can answer them as we go through here. Bud did a good job answering
Do
them.
you need a resolution from us accepting to send these things to a town meeting?
Well, if we're going to do it next month, then yes.
Okay. Now, we already did the fire department,
Yep.
authorized you or recommended
Yep.
you send that. The two that you would be asking for now would be
Well, the school,
school
MVR replacement,
and the 50.
and the 50,438 from Fund 80. The 83,112, I would need to continue to work on.
That makes sense.
And the 41,000, it may end up still at 41,474, but I'd like to at least have some answers before we move it forward. So,
I don't know how we can make a recommendation if we don't know what the final numbers are.
no, that's right. So to Bud's point, we can in fact move forward the 68,000 and the 5438. I question whether we want to have 2 town meetings to do that, so.
That's an excellent question.
um,
And the fire department?
Fire department.
And the fire
So you got
department.
3.
The fire department does need to move forward.
They do.
But that's a,
Why
don't know,
can't
you know-
this all be done at one time?
they can't all be done at one time. They don't have to be done at one time. They can be done at one time, but we need to get answers on the 83,000 and the 41,000. I'm not comfortable going to the town or with a proposal for a town meeting that says we need to move 83,112, when after a closer inspection of our accounting shows that we need to move 10,000.
How long do you think it'll take to get, like, suitable answers?
I'd say a week or two.
A week or two?
I hope, yeah. You know, these are just speed bumps in the process of trying to get the budget ready for us to start working on that. Just taking time away from focus on that. But I don't,
You guys will meet 2 weeks.
yeah,
You can put.
We can move it forward.
You can move it forward to a
Yeah.
town meeting. And you don't need our say-so on that, I don't think.
I'm not sure about that. I believe we
They're
do.
going to recommend approving money.
Yeah.
It should come from us.
We can schedule the meeting with action, but the actual numbers and the definition of where things are coming from needs to.
Okay.
Right now,
Well, yeah,
we're
but you can-
meeting-
My point is, you
Well,
can
we can
schedule.
schedule, yeah.
Okay, but right now, our workshops, I have to file minutes for our workshops. So I can put it in as part of a special meeting, because right now we're meeting every single Tuesday at 7 o'clock.
That's right. Yeah,
So,
there you go.
you know, we can just add it in as part
Put
of
it
the
on the
workshop.
agenda.
We can do.
The
well,
final vote?
Yeah, we can put a vote in because minutes are gonna be taken. I was informed.
That sounds good.
That sounds good.
So,
I want to clarify, are we authorizing Angus to do the 68 for the school? Or do you want to wait? Has to be put back by
end of the
June.
fiscal
I
year.
don't think we have any option. I mean, it's-
No.
I don't think we have any option, and
Yeah.
let's get it behind us is one of my
Yeah.
logics, but I'll
Yeah.
defer to you folks. Okay.
That's fine.
So I'm confused with all of these numbers. We're gonna ask the town to approve $34,992 for the firemen.
Yes.
And then we're going to bring to them $83,112.
Not yet.
No.
Not yet.
Yeah.
$41,000?
Not
Not
yet.
yet.
Where's the 68 from?
The
68 is
for
the
the
school.
MVR, otherwise we get knocked
Oh,
down.
so these other monies do not have to be approved by the...
Well,
Yeah.
this 41 would likely be covered by the 68.
No,
No, because that's what we
No.
were talking about.
They were in the prior
spending it
year,
to-
we have to go,
Oh,
if
that's
we move
prior year,
forward, we have to
right,
approve.
Okay.
68 has to be done, or we stand a chance of being
Right.
penalized
Next year.
170.
Yeah, but if we move the
So that this is in
60,
addition to
but
that.
if we move the 68, we don't have to move another 41.
Yes, you do.
We do.
Yes, you do.
Totally different issues.
Two different issues.
Two different issues, two different time periods.
And I think that's the bigger point, is they're two different time periods.
Right.
So we're looking for approval of about $134,000?
Roughly. Yeah, and.
We had 200 and something thousand in capital fund.
Yep.
I actually come out with a higher number, I come out with 153.
Yeah.
68 for the school, 35 for the firemen, and 50 for the renovations of this facility.
Yeah.
And that still leaves the other two hanging
Yeah,
out
that's where we're
there.
out there, which is another 120.
Yeah.
And they're-
I'm confident, remember, that this money, other than the 41,000, has been spent.
Understood.
It's just accounting.
No, I understand
Yeah.
that, but the, you know,
No, I know.
any surplus we have is just accounting too.
Yep, yep. No, that's right.
So, all right, so I guess you want to go 68?
Well, I think, just for clarity, we can take that out of the next conversation in our next workshop. If you all agree that we pick our fight and we fight on TPS rather than the MBR, then I think it would, just like we did the fire department already, make
Get
that
the fire
motion. Let's
department going, that's
get that done. So our next conversation only has to do with the, and if you wanted to, the 50,438, put that in this motion too, because that is a number that we know is real.
I leave the board of finance. I like cleaning up the accounting in one meeting.
Yeah, me too.
And having either the school and, have the fire department go, the question is, do we take the school question to the fire, with the fire department call?
If that's the question, I would suggest.
I like two separate questions.
Two
I don't
different
want it
Oh,
lumped
no,
together.
they have to be two separate questions. They absolutely
Yeah,
have to
I
be.
can't
The
have
question
that.
is whether we have it in two separate
Question
meetings.
to the town meeting. So there's two questions on a call to the town.
I'd rather do it at one time.
There's a cost to a town meeting, right?
Yeah?
There's a little cost, not really.
It's not a high cost. It's
No.
not
Yeah, but we
like the
still have to
voters.
publish
Plus
it in the
it's
paper.
opening the building, Margot coming.
Yeah, the publishing in the paper, how much is?
Yeah, there's advertising.
Yeah,
for it.
advertising for it, so
A
it's
few hundred bucks.
a few $100 is a few $100. Let's do it at one time instead of two.
But when you say one time, you want to do
I wanna
68 for
do
school, fire
68
department,
and fire department,
50?
and 50.
And you want to do the 50 at the same one, or do you want to, my leanings are to clean up all the accounting in one meeting. But just because they sort of came at me with one memo, just would be nice to clean them all up.
I think that we can do that. We can put off making a decision until next week's budget workshop.
Yeah.
And then we'll hopefully have at least a better idea of the 83,000.
Yes.
And have a better response from the school for the 41. At that point, we can make the decision to move it forward. We know we have to move the fire department quickly.
Yes, quickly.
The rest of this, if we decide we want to clean it up in another month, we'll have a second meeting in another month. But let's give ourselves a week to get these answers and make a decision. I am of the mind that one meeting is better. We may not be able to do that, but let's give ourselves a week to get to that.
Right, so fire department goes to meeting. The 68 to clean up the school mess, we will defer to the future. Seems like it's a pretty solid answer. That's why I was trying to lump them together, and you have a lot of friendly firemen there.
Well, we have three constants. We have the 68.
Yes.
The fire department.
Yes.
And the 50.
Yeah.
And
some
those are the
other
three
potential
numbers that we
measures.
have that are not going to change.
Right.
That's right.
And then there's two variables.
And then we have two variables, one of which I'm confident will be drastically reduced. The other I don't think will be reduced, but we will at least have some answers.
Which do you think is going to be reduced?
The
school?
83,000.
Oh, that's good.
I know that that was just, I'm confident that was just
Miscalculating, miswriting.
Yeah, misassigned, assigned incorrectly.
All right. Fire department's going. That's the only thing we've accomplished so far. Other hangs until the meetings. The remaining three, whatever amount of numbers there are. The 68 to clear up school, we will deal with as some special.
I think, I don't see any reason why we don't put the 68 in with the fire department.
That would be my lean.
Yeah.
Board of Finance, do you agree? Can we send 68 to the town meeting with the fire?
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
I don't think it makes any difference, good,
All
yeah,
right.
fine.
No, so those two?
Those two. Now, what I'm suggesting, Bud, what I just said before, not very clearly, is I will wait until next Tuesday to discuss. We may be able to next Tuesday decide we can have this meeting, do everything in one meeting. So I'm going to wait until next Tuesday to make these, schedule these. Once we come out of next Tuesday's meeting, next Wednesday, I will schedule a meeting for the fire department and the school. Hopefully, we can schedule it for the fire department, the school, and all the rest of this.
Well, it's also for that 50,000, that accounting.
And the 50,000, right?
Right.
Yeah. Now, my understanding of what Bud is saying is that he would prefer to do all of the accounting in one meeting.
All the county cleanup in one
Yeah.
meeting.
So holding off on that 50 would be a part of that.
Okay.
I'm not solid on that, it just seems like package them all together would be.
You know, it's just, it's,
If you're gonna have a vague
it's
meeting, might as well
easier
keep it
to
as
have.
vague as possible.
Yeah. It just makes sense.
Well, for the accounting meeting, you're gonna have 6 people show up, so it's,
Let's hope so. I don't know, sometimes vagueness cracks them some. All right, so, Board of Finance, resolution made by Russ, that we're going to send the 68, which Clara is an attempt to address the deficiency in our education funds for this current year. We're gonna send that to a public hearing. Russ made that motion, Laurie seconded. Is that true?
Does it also include the fire department?
No.
That was done.
Fire department, we've already done. We've already voted to send that to a public hearing.
Mhm.
All right? So we've got a resolution?
Yes, we've already got that one.
Good.
Yes, okay, that's fine. I'll
You
do,
second.
I'll do the
Okay.
68 second, yes.
So we'll call a meeting. Should we send, so the vote now is yea or nay. Should we send the 68, which clarifies or addresses or attempts to eliminate the problem around the state? Should we send that to a public meeting? All in favor of sending it with the same meeting as the fire department? Say yea.
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none. All right, Agnes, up to you.
Yeah, I will wait till Tuesday, but we'll get everything ready.
All right. All right, the remaining open item is anything, anything in the budget that anyone wishes to chat about, either on the revenue or the expense side.
Just
All
had
right.
those 2 line items
What were
I
those?
wrote-
I want to look at, I opened
I
it up,
wrote
and
them down.
you were on the
Yeah.
revenue side, right, Don?
The revenue
Revenues.
side.
I wrote the
four-
numbers
yep,
down.
41750 and then 47150. I think it's just a typo. There's probably
Yeah.
supposed to be one line, but
So let me catch up here, it's
So
building,
it's
it's the
closer up
teacher's
to the top,
retirement.
it's
Yeah.
41750.
yeah, that's the teacher retirement.
yeah.
And also down lower is 47150, wherever it
And
is.
it's all zeros.
Either that or they're being tricky and we're doing 2 separate funds.
So wherever the two teachers
Wait,
ones.
where are you?
Teacher's
retirement.
They're all zeros.
47150
There's just 2.
and
The
41750.
top one is the teacher retirement.
Right, and the bottom one is also teacher retirement, wherever
Oh, gotcha.
47150 is.
Teacher retirement, I got you.
So they're
Okay.
both teacher retirement.
Gotcha,
So it's
gotcha,
two of the
gotcha.
Teacher
same.
retirement, teachers
One
retirement.
And
line
I
should probably go away.
can't
No, they're
access
absolutely-
my
They're both
email.
zero, that is an excellent point. You would think as part of our our annual budget process, we'd clean up some of this, but, okay, yes,
Yeah,
an
they
excellent point.
cleaned
An excellent point.
Yeah.
That's all.
And
Yep.
I can't
Bookkeeping.
get to my emails,
It's funny, man, you just-
bring up the ones that.
You don't see
This
it,
thing
you don't
is-
see it. No, I know, I was, well, I saw it.
Every week I.
Yeah, I was just looking at it, and then I looked down, and I'm like, wait a
Yeah,
minute.
I
and
can't get
just
to
see
my
that.
email, so
Yeah,
I don't
cool.
have access
How
to.
about on the expenditure side? Did anyone have any concerns on the expenditure side?
I sent some stuff up, but I can't access that.
You can't
Your
access
questions?
Yeah, my questions,
Well,
I can't
can-
access.
I've got them right here, I'm happy to respond to them. Bud already did respond to a few, but you were asking, is the library contract really a revenue generator? I think, and actually your next question too, I would take the word generator out of that question. It definitely, it's not a revenue generator, it is a fixed number that the state is a grant to the town library. It needs, the reason it has a line is the state requires that it be kept separate from the general fund. So that comes into, it's wired into our account and immediately gets sent to the library. Or spent.
So that's the library Concord, and what was the
Yeah.
second one?
Second one is, should the teacher's retirement be a generator line? It's not a generator, but it comes from the state and it goes right back out again. We never know what it's going to be. We receive money and it immediately goes to the school. For some reason, it comes to the town and the town sends it to the school.
We haven't had money in that for a long time.
That's been zero for as long
I
as.
remember John Bauer talking about it. I don't remember money in that.
Apparently, it's been zero twice for a long time, but have any unrestricted grants actually been applied for? This is a grant that doesn't need an application. The state determines every year what the unrestricted grant is going to be, and it is exactly as it's defined. It is an unrestricted grant. We can use it however we wish. In the end of the year, we just have to tell them how we used it. Has the town clerk applied for the $4,500 grant? Yes, and she's received it, and she's spent $2,500 of it or so.
Is that for micro?
Pardon?
She does microfilming with that, or
Yeah.
she's getting the records put on
She
film or
does-
something?
She does different things with it. I believe this year it has been on records like that, microfilming and stuff. She has a separate line for microfilming, but this has some, she's using it for programs, and I think she's, if memory serves me, she used this grant to update some software for the computer for the public. There's a computer out here now, so the public doesn't have to go inside to use the grantor grantee books. They use the computer outside. I believe she used that money to generate that. Let's see, you asked a question about the senior housing sewer line. We wouldn't be seeing this revenue increase. I'm not 100% certain of the question, what you mean by it, but the senior housing sewer line, if you remember right, got confused. Kathy put the payment for the firehouse sewer in that line. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Okay, so that's why you see the overage there. And that will continue to be there for the year because we don't have any place for that. We're working with the fire department to try to rectify that. Tax relief for the elderly, none is used. This is something we're going to address in this year's budget. You'll see, I think we're going to account for this differently. Yeah. Can the balance in the fire incentive program be used to cover uniform requests? No. That's paid out in full by the end of the year. Yeah. Water hole maintenance is only done in the spring? Yes, it is. And thanks for sending those out. If I can successfully get Kathy to send the budget out early, then you can send me these early, we can answer them. So, yeah, thanks for sending the email.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Municipal library, their library program expenses has been totally depleted at this point. Is that because they front load the expense?
We send them that money front end,
Okay.
and then they spend it on books.
Books? Is that what they have there?
They're a bit old-fashioned up there. The other one I want to point out is, again, elections is 13% of their budget is left. I assume they have at least one referendum left, so we may see those numbers stretched. A lot of those
I
costs
can never
are
find
up
those
on that
elections.
recount, I guess, so.
Yeah.
I have one other question. This is on the very last page. Expenses, we have a line for revaluation pre-funding, 2021.
That's the question we're asking Tommy to think about.
Well, but it's in there now.
It's in there, we're collecting
Yeah.
$20,000 this year, pre-fund that for the next 3 years.
Right,
Yeah, so,
but it has its own line.
what's that?
It has its own line here, right?
Well, it
Expense
has its
line.
own line because we
Revenue
collected it
line.
from citizens. And my question is, what does Tommy want to do with it?
How do we hold it?
3 years
The
spending.
question is whether we can put that into a different account, into a capital account or something like that and make some interest. I'm not certain of the answer to that, and Tom and I are gonna have to look into that.
In our account, speaking of things that never seem to change, in our budget for the last several years, we have had printing expenses. We, as the Board of Finance, are by legislation required to put out an annual report. We have not put one out since 2013. Angus and I are meeting to begin to put one out that hopefully will bridge that gap.
I think we're gonna need to do two.
Oh, we need to do
They can only be 2 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I
Okay,
thought we were doing
excellent.
two. I thought we were doing 2 years.
We are.
discussed
It's in
that
the
at some
budget
point
to
in
do
time.
it. Yeah, we did it last year.
Yeah,
You know, we talked about it and getting started on it now.
The towns around here all do it. So it is like everyone in the town, all the boards and commissions talk about what they have accomplished during the year, and it is good. So we will spend that money this year, is my assumption. If I do too, we may
Yes,
spend a little bit more. So, all right, if hearing no further questions, what say you folks? Is it time to adjourn?
just remember, every week, Tuesday, 7 o'clock.
Next Tuesday, 7 o'clock.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor? All right. Just done. See you on Tuesday.
No opposed?